Okay, so many people say that you're not a true New Yorker until your apartment has been broken into. Well, guess what? I don't want to be a true New Yorker.
Unfortunately, Eddie and I had the recent experience of coming home to an apartment that had been broken into and burglarized.
And we're going to use this video to take you step by step of what we went through, what you might potentially go through if this ever happens to you, what to do, what not to do, and how to deal with the aftermath. Okay, so I was ahead of Nick. He was checking the mail. I go to stick my key in the door just like I do every day, and it doesn't go into the lock. I try again, doesn't go into the lock. I look at the doorknob. Just by looking at it, I had the feeling that someone had broken into the apartment. Here's the lock. See that key jammed in there? The cops and the locksmith told us that this is what they do.
Actually, we're not going to tell you how they did it because I don't need anybody robbing any apartments based on what they saw in this video.
Exactly. We could take you through step by step how they did it, but we'll just say this. If they want to get into your apartment, they're gonna get in. Now, this isn't a video to make you scared, but had we known some of the things that we know now, then this could have possibly been prevented.
Side note, if you ever come home and see that your lock has been messed with or you think that somebody's in your apartment, the best thing to do, which we found out after, is to not go in, because if they're still in there, that could be a problem.
So now we made the mistake of walking into the apartment.
The first thing that we notice after we go into the apartment is that all of our cabinets are all open and everything that was in there was thrown all over the floor. The second thing that we notice is our cat runs up to us and he's fine.
Now that's a plus because we read all these horror stories after the fact of sometimes the criminal steals your pet, hurts your pet, lets your pet out but by leaving the door open. So we were very lucky that our cat was alright.
So we keep looking through the apartment and we see that all the drawers in the bedroom open. All the clothes that were in there all over the floor in a big heaping pile on the floor. They went through the fridge, they went through our medicine cabinet, they went through everything.
Any possible thing of value was stolen. Once I see all of our stuff everywhere, I become enraged because now we got to clean all this up. In my head, I think we don't even have anything that valuable in the apartment. You start to do like this inventory list in your head. You try to figure out why us? Why this apartment? Why this building? Why? All these questions of why, and you know how many answers you have? Zero. You have no answers.
So the police came 5 minutes after Eddie called them, which was good, and then they were going back and forth saying, you know, you could fill out an incident report, you don't have to. And so at first we couldn't really think about what was missing because your brain doesn't have time to process everything. It all goes by so fast. So Eddie went downstairs with them to fill out the police report by the car, and then I started seeing things and I started thinking of things that could be missing. So as I go through the apartment, I'm calling Eddie saying, this is gone, add this to the report.
And not that we're saying that cops are lazy, but I experienced a little bit of like they would have rather not filled out the report, not dusted for fingerprints, and then when we insisted, because we said, look, we have renter's insurance, we're going to need the police report regardless so that we can claim some of these things, we really did push them to follow through with this. Then they send somebody to fingerprint the apartment. No fingerprints were found. You really have to be ready to deal with the harsh reality that whoever did this to you probably will not get caught.
The moral of this part of the story is if this ever happens to you, we hope it doesn't, but always fill out a police report because you need documentation.
Exactly. And don't touch anything in the apartment. Not because your fingerprints are going to be on it, because obviously they are, this is your apartment, but you don't want to smudge anyone else's fingerprints and you don't want to move something that could have potentially been touched and then you forget about it. So leave everything the way it is.
So while the cops are there, I look up a number on my phone for a locksmith, 24-hour locksmith, call him up, half an hour later he gets there because you need a new lock because your lock is broken. You can't go to sleep, your apartment was just broken into, you're not going to go to bed with your door unlocked.
And it wasn't cheap either. To have someone come that late to install a new lock, it's not cheap. And he didn't want to take a credit card. So I had to go with him to an ATM so I can take out the money to pay him. What he tells me in the car is, oh, you shouldn't have a cat, you should actually have a dog. Now listen, the only way a dog's gonna work is if it's an attack dog. If you have a dog that doesn't bark when someone comes to the door, it's not gonna work. And that dog has to be willing to attack.
The tough part about it is the insurance company told us that they will not give us the money for the lock because the lock was not our property. they did say that the building has insurance and that we should try and go through them. So, depending on what kind of apartment building you live in, you may be able to deduct the lock from the rent.
You're going to want a new lock. You're going to want a second lock. You're going to want a third lock. You might want a fourth lock, a security system. You're not going to feel safe in the apartment anymore. Doesn't matter who you are. This is a violation of your privacy. We've been told by several people these are just materialistic things. You can replace it. Look, we get it. This too shall pass. However, in the moment, everything we've worked for, that in one day gets taken away by someone who thinks that they can just come in and rob you, is wrong.
And it sucks.
It sucks big time, and it does psychological damage as well. Every time we walk into that building, the courtyard, all that goes through my head is we're going to go up to the apartment again, and it's going to be robbed again.
And it's nice, all of the comments that people tell us, but the last thing that two people who were just robbed want to hear is, oh, you should have done this, you should have had that.
Everybody thinks they have an answer, and they don't. Anybody who gives you a new brand name of a lock, guess what? It can be broken into. Security systems, while they work very well, it still gives the thief time to go through the apartment. There really is no set solution to preventing this from happening.
Some people have even told us to go to Staples and buy that little box that has the key that's fireproof. You know what? Somebody's going to take that. They're going to find a way to open it.
Unless it's bolted to the wall, or unless it's as big as a mini fridge
or a bank safe.
Yeah, that they can't get out, it's not going to work. Other people say, oh, you should have a safety deposit box at the bank. Well, you're going to put your checkbooks in that safety deposit box at the bank? You're going to leave credit cards in there? You're going to leave jewelry in there? Anytime you want to write a check, anytime you want to get a piece of jewelry, you're going to have to go to the bank?
You're going to have to stop at the bank every day to get a watch to go to work.
Exactly. It's safe, but it's not realistic. We hope that this video helps you, and we hope that you never have to deal with this in your life. It sucks big time. Now, every robbery is different. With our case, we've come to the conclusion that someone in the building either robbed us, or someone in the building gave our information to someone outside of the building, letting them know the apartment number to rob, when we're home, when we're not home, whether or not they think we have some stuff to rob. Because, let's be honest, to pick an apartment building at random, then to pick a unit in that building at random just because someone isn't home, and to get in there and they've got nothing, you just risked going to jail. That's a big risk to take. They knew what we had, they knew when they wanted to come, they knew when they could come, and they did. We also have a neighbor who was unfortunately in a worse situation with being robbed because people got hurt. We're not going to discuss their story on here because it's not our right. However, after we spoke with them, we've all come to the conclusion that it's an inside job. And when I say inside job, I just mean that someone in the building either did it or assisted someone else in doing it. And that feeling sucks even more.
One final note, insurance is great, but it's not going to cover everything. Read your policy when you sign up for it, because there's going to be a lot of stuff that they're not going to pay for, that they're not going to cover, and there are a lot of limits.
Just like with any type of insurance, there are all these loopholes, and it's like the last thing you want to deal with after being robbed is having to prove everything that you have, but you have to. So if you can keep receipts, or at least know that you can get a hold of your credit card statements or your bank statements to prove that you paid for these things and how long ago you paid for these things, it'll only make the process a little smoother. Now, thank you very much for watching our video. We sincerely hope you never have to use any of the tips in this video. However, you got to do what you got to do. You got to stay strong. You have to know that everything is going to be all right. You have to restore your faith in humanity, which I have not done yet. Sorry, humanity.
And it was lacking before.
Exactly, yeah. Living in New York? Come on. This can make you bitter and angry and upset, enraged. However, it can also empower you. You can't live every day thinking that you're going to get robbed. You can't live your life being scared. Take the proper precautions. Everything will ultimately be okay. Thanks for watching our video.